I first started using drawing tablets around 7 years ago and I haven't looked back since, but I was the sucker who spent around $250 on one when you can pick some up with comparable specs for less than a third of the price. So I want to actually compare a professional versus budget tablet to see if it's actually worth spending more on a tablet, reasons some people may opt for a cheaper one, and some final recommendations to help you find a tablet at a budget that won't make you weak in the knees. So today I have two tablets in front of me, both of which are drawing tablets and not display tablets. As a photo retoucher myself, I don't use display tablets and I much prefer the portability and size of drawing tablets. But anyways, the first drawing tablet that I have is the Wacom Intuos Pro size small, which I bought for around 250 USD many years ago. This is the older model of the tablet, but the new model is around the same price today. The second tablet is the Veikk Voila L, which is currently around 70 USD at the time of making this video and has extremely comparable specs on paper to this $250 tablet. So at a glance, the latest version of the Wacom Intuos Pro and the Veikk Voila L both have 8,192 levels of pen pressure sensitivity, pen tilt recognition up to 60 degrees, and customizable express keys and pen buttons to suit your workflow. Both tablets are relatively comparable in size and weight, and the pens look nearly identical, so why in the world would you pay 3 times more for the price of a tablet? Well, rather than me just telling you my opinion, I'm going to demonstrate and compare a few key areas of each tablet, so it should hopefully become clear which price range of tablet is best for you. Because these pros and cons tend to be similar between any tablet brand or model, just depending on the price range that you're going with. And by the way, if you're interested in getting either of the tablets we talk about in today's video for yourself, I'll leave a link for them in the description below. Now, the 3 main areas we will be comparing each of these tablets is in the general feel and usability of the tablets, the pens of each tablet, and finally the actual performance of each tablet. So first up, we have the usability. As is common with most tablets, we have express keys that can be mapped to different functions on your computer. This can all be controlled within the system settings on your computer, making it super easy to customize and fine-tune them for your work. I'm not the biggest user of express keys, as I default to just pressing keyboard shortcuts on my keyboard instead, but they are a nice bonus to have. In this case, both of these tablets have a dial that can be customized to different functions like changing brush sizes, zooming in or out, or even scrolling through layers, for example. This is a feature I actually do get a lot from, and I find them extremely worthwhile on any tablet to have. Each tablet has a very similar matte feel as well, making them physically pretty similar to match. So at this point, it's hard to see a clear reason to buy the more expensive tablet, so let's move on to the pens where we can start to see some more clear differences between the price ranges. Besides the obvious similarities such as the 2 mappable pen buttons and a comparable feel and size, the major difference you'll find between a high-end and low-end pen is in the tip as well as a built-in eraser. If I press down on both pens firmly on a hard surface, you can see how the cheaper pen has a lot more of a springy feel. When I press down, I can feel the pen tip moving towards me, and it's sort of like a spring. Meanwhile, the more expensive pen has almost no play while pressing down, which gives it a more natural feel to a real pen or pencil. Now, you might be thinking that this could be due to the pen nib, which is built into the pen, and that can be true, but with my Wacom pen, I have a variety of pen nibs to choose from, including ones more textured or ones with a springy feel if that's what I'm wanting to go for. My Veikk pen also has replaceable pen nibs, but all the nibs have the same feel and the springiness of the pen will never go away. So with a more premium pen, you have total control over the feel of it, while a cheaper pen is more you get what you get without much customization options to have. The next thing we have is a built-in eraser inside of the Wacom pen, which is quite common among higher-end pens as a whole. Rather than needing to switch tools, you can just flip around your pen and erase from your project like you're using an actual pencil. This is also possible with cheaper pens by mapping the eraser tool to one of the pen buttons, but it doesn't feel quite as fluid or natural. This might sound like a useless thing to some people, but if you're actually used to drawing on paper, having a pen that performs like a real pencil can actually go a long way to make the transition transition of actually using a tablet that much easier. So if you plan to use your editing tablet a lot, I believe a more premium pen makes the experience a lot more enjoyable. But if you're more of a casual user or just need an entry-level tablet to finally upgrade from your mouse, I wouldn't worry too much about this. Instead, I would worry about what we're about to talk about next, which is the tablet's actual performance. To make this comparison as clear as possible, I have a Photoshop document split into two sides. Using a basic round brush with medium hardness and pen pressure enabled, I'll create a few different lines based on the pressure of the pen on the tablet, both with the cheap and the expensive tablets. Objectively, the results are pretty similar and there's not a huge difference between the two. But let's try to create a gradual gradient going from the lightest pressure to the hardest pressure. With the Wacom tablet, it feels pretty close to the performance of an actual pencil. Even when I'm painting extremely soft, it still picks up faint brushstrokes on my canvas. Moving into higher pressure, it performs as expected and feels smooth and natural to draw with. Now comparing that to the cheaper tablet, I have a really hard time actually creating super faint brushstrokes with this tablet. It seems not to register any pressure until a certain point that's far darker than the most faint pressure I could draw with on the Wacom. Even after playing around with the sensitivity settings on my computer, I still wasn't able to get nearly as good of a result with the cheaper tablet as I could with the more expensive tablet. But although it struggled at the lightest brushstrokes, it still performed well for the medium and high pressure brushstrokes, which is going to take up the majority of your projects. So now comes the question of which price point should you actually buy? And at this point in the video, you might have come to that conclusion for yourself, but I'll share my opinion on it anyways and a way to get a more expensive tablet, but for cheaper. I believe that a cheaper tablet can get the job done for any digital artist or photo retoucher, but only if you aren't spending more than a couple hours a week using the tablet. A tablet of any kind is far better than a mouse, but little issues with certain pen pressures or an unnatural pen feel might start to get to you if you're using it a lot. It can also be a bit limiting depending on the type of brush strokes you want to create because it simply won't read them when a more premium tablet would. So with that said, if you plan to spend hours and hours a week using your tablet, I truly believe it is worthwhile to invest in a more expensive tablet, and the extra few features and the more natural feel makes it just so much more enjoyable to use over a long work session. And for me, this tablet is still going strong even after like 7 years of using it. You also don't get any weird hiccups with a more premium tablet, like struggling to brush at certain pressures or not having the perfect pen nib feel. If you consider yourself serious about what you do, I believe you should opt for a more expensive tablet and you really won't regret it. The main takeaway that you should be getting here is that a cheaper tablet will get you 80% of what you need, but will still leave some things to be desired for. And since the price gap is so huge between a budget and a premium tablet, it's totally understandable if you don't want to fork out the extra cash. However, I would highly recommend checking out your local eBay or Facebook marketplace listings for older versions of higher end tablets. There's often a few decent ones to choose from and at a comparable price point to the lower end tablets that you can buy for new. But if you are looking to buy a new tablet and want to check out either of the ones I talked about in today's video, I'll leave a link for both of them below. Both of those links are affiliate links, meaning if you decide to buy one, I make a small commission which helps support this channel and more videos like this one. So again, I'll leave those links in the description below if you want to check out either of these tablets. And with that, I'll catch you back here next time.